Call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Please stay seated for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. We are being broadcast, we're being broadcast over cable TV. In the future, we're live on YouTube right now. And we're going to go now with Clerk Wright calling the roll. Please, when you get the roll call called, please let me know what part of the world you're in. It's one of the new things, such as Kevin McNamara, supervisors here in Van Buren Township.
All right, Trustee Kevin Martin.
I'm present and I am in Van Buren Township.
Trustee Reggie Miller.
VBT and me, yes, present.
Trustee Don Borden.
Present in Van Buren Township.
Trustee Sherry Fraser, excuse, absent. Treasurer Sherry Budd.
Sherry Budd is here in Van Buren Township.
Clerk Leon Wright is at 9961 Andover Drive, Van Buren Township.
Wow, okay. So why are we
Supervisor Kevin
doing this
Martin.
now? I'm
Supervisor
sorry.
Kevin McNair.
Kevin McNamara's here in Van Buren Township. Reggie, what you have?
Why are we giving our location? Why? We haven't done that before. I'm just curious.
Part of the
About a
corporation.
month ago, there was a director from somebody at the state that in order to fit the Open Meeting Act, you had to start doing that. The irony of it is they don't care if you say that you're in Manila, the Philippines, your vote still counts. But for some reason, you have to tell them that.
Huh. Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Executive summary. We have our usual, we have a very short consent agenda today, consisting of our meeting minutes, prepaid lists, and our voucher lists. We have the first reading of an ordinance, which will clarify the amount of usable floor space for senior citizen housing. We have discussion on using Davenport Brothers to build out the first section of French Landing Park. And we have a discussion on Zambelli fireworks contract, and we're going to decide whether or not we're going to go through with fireworks on 4th of July. And that's all. That's what we've got going on. Adoption of the agenda. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
So
I make a motion.
Miller, Boynton. Okay, hearing no further discussion. Clerk Wright, could you call the roll, please?
Okay, Trustee Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Boyne.
Yep.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Fraser is absent. Treasurer Budd.
Yes.
Yes for me. Clerk Wright. Supervisor McNair.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Clerk. Trustee Martin, could you make the motion for the consent agenda?
I make a motion to adopt the consent agenda as published, with items being item 1, board meeting minutes of April 20, 2021, closed session minutes of April 20, 2021, prepaid list of April 22nd, 2021, prepaid list of April 29th, 2021, and voucher list of May 4, 2021.
Support.
Support by Ms. Treasurer Budd. Consent agenda, so hearing no further discussion, Clerk Wright, would you call the roll?
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Treasurer Budd.
Yes.
Trustee Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Boyne.
Yes.
Trustee Fraser is again excused, absent. Yes for me, Clerk Wright. Supervisor McNair.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We have no public hearings today, so we'll go right to correspondence, announcements, and presentations. Since I have quite a few, they may double up with somebody else. Does anybody else have a correspondence presentation or announcement they would like to make?
Through the chair,
Treasurer Bud.
I would just like to say that Matt Best had asked the Civic Fund to pick up some of the costs for what was going on out at the Riggs Park. And the Civic Fund has given him the $43,000 to pay for those extra items he wanted in the benches. I'm sorry, not at the park, but at the pickleball courts where they will have the shade covers and the tables and the benches.
Yay, Civic Fund. Okay, then I'll go off with my next one then is, they're starting to move on that community center. The DDA, and I'm going to say these names because the DDA just gave us over $1 million. And they're going to sponsor paying for the Cube Theater to be attached to the new community center with an estimated value of $1.137 million. So thank you, Chairman Atchison, Director Baskin, Vice Chair Byrd, Director Chappell, Director DeLibra, Director Lajeunesse, Director Rahoviak, Director Chudzinski, Director Foster, and our Secretary, Mr. Brown. I'm also a member McNamara, so, but thank you very much for the $1.137 million dedicated toward our community center, should we build it. Okay.
Thank you.
Sumter Road. We did have an open house. Almost everybody at the trustees. Thank you, Mr. Martin, Miller, Boynton, Bud, Wright, Frazier for attending. The Sumter Road Corridor project, we're still discussing it. It's really come down to two projects. One is the north of Hall Road on Sumter Road. Are we going to rezone that? And the other is the south of Hall Road. Are we going to rezone that? We will be having another open house on this. We want to get more public comment. If you have comment, you can go to our website and make it. Walk-up vaccinations are still going on at our local Wayne County Community College campus in Van Buren Township, beautiful Van Buren, on Haggerty Road and Tyler Road. You can walk right in and be out of there in 25 minutes. Or you can go on our website or call us. We will schedule you. So, and they've got the Pfizer there, so it's a good shot. I know a lot of groups are now going to Johnson & Johnson because of the fact that they're trying to get the last people vaccinated. BACA, the Belleville Area Council of the Arts, has got a Belleville Lake Bass project where they're going to have local artists and other artists paint fish. The DDA has approved 5 sites. We're going to put one at Atchison Ford, one at the DNR property over there on the lake, one at French Landing Park, one at the fire station number 3, and one at Quirk Park. So fish are coming. I also want to make reference that a lot of most of my team, and I saw Leon Wright and Sherry Budd. We had a meeting the other night with Congressman Dingell in the U.S. Treasury. Was anybody else there? Because those. Okay, at any rate, I got to ask about 15 questions on what they'll afford and let us have. So we're hopefully going to find out what we can spend our recovery money on. I am saying this not because we worked hours into the night doing it, mostly because they did say something that was shocking. They were saying the money you thought you were going to get is probably not the money you're getting. We don't really know how much we're getting. We thought it was 2.8, but it sounds like they are pulling back on those numbers. I don't know. I doubt it to be good, but it was too good to be true probably before, but we'll see what happens. All right. We also all attended the Haggerty sub program last week. We are I'm having a video put up as we are talking right now. Ryan is working diligently in the background, putting the video up of that meeting so that any residents that want to see the entire Haggerty sub sidewalk project as initially envisioned and hear the comments, they can. If they want to make comments, they can. We plan on within the next week and a half putting out a final program to the community and get a final question and answer from the community, and hopefully in 4 weeks come to the board and ask their approval, and have them inspect whatever project we have and ask their approval to finalize the sidewalk project. So expect that in 4 weeks, all right? I do have, I got numerous letters and things like this one from, oh God, I can't even see a name. I'm sorry. But at any rate, they basically thanked us so much for having the open forums. They were thanking us for the sidewalk forums. They were thanking us for the corridor forums. They were thanking us that, a lot of them talked about the fact that they're amazed at so many people that were asking their opinion and we're getting the word out. So I thought you should know that people are for the most part thanking you for not blindly doing things without asking the public. So, all right. Does anybody else want to make a comment? All right, we're gonna move on. I'm sure I missed something, but I'm sorry if I did. Unfinished business, we have none. New business. Discussion and to consider for approval of first reading. A first reading must be read in its entirety. Who would like to make the motion for this first reading on senior citizen housing footage? Treasurer Bud?
Sure. I would like to make approval of the first reading of ordinance 5421, parent 1, to clarify required minimum usable floor area per dwelling unit in independent senior housing development and to allow additional signage in senior housing developments.
Can I
Or
get a second?
support.
Clerk Wright. Okay, who's our director in this one? Dan Power? Matt Best?
We just promoted Dan.
Thanks.
Good evening, board. Thank you for having me here for this discussion. The topic of senior housing is no stranger to you all at this point. There have been a couple of different projects that have been proposed under the senior housing ordinance that we've passed, and there was a lot of work that was done on creating the ordinance that allows that. So I guess that's where I'll start, is by saying that in 2019, a lot of research was done and work was done to create a very robust ordinance for senior housing in the township that responded both to independent style senior housing as well as assisted living and memory care style senior housing. One of the key details of the research that was done in 2019 going into that ordinance over the course of several meetings was the idea of the minimum size for a dwelling unit for what are considered independent senior housing developments, and those might also be known as senior apartments or a similar term. What the township ended up with was a very robust, relatively high standard for requiring a minimum of 650 square feet of usable floor area per dwelling for single bedroom units and 850 square feet minimum for 2-bedroom units. And I'd like to just read verbatim the specific requirement there from section 5.143 of the zoning ordinance, subsection D, subsection 1. And this is on page 41 of your packet tonight. So what we have in place right now, it says that the required minimum usable floor area in square feet per dwelling unit for independent living units, for efficiency or studio and 1-bedroom dwelling units, that minimum is 650 feet per unit, and for 2-bedroom dwelling units, that is 850 square feet. When the senior housing project proposal called Clover Development came in, they raised an interesting question, and it took a while to establish what the question was about this ordinance, but we eventually had an application from Clover to question basically what we mean by this. And so Clover Development had applied for an interpretation of this standard to our Board of Zoning Appeals. And basically the question boiled down to, well, the township requires a certain amount of usable floor area per dwelling unit in these independent senior housing developments, Do we mean in each discrete dwelling unit, or do we mean that there simply needs to be this amount of square footage per dwelling unit, including some of the communal areas that are available to residents? And that was the kind of the impetus for this whole discussion and this whole zoning ordinance amendment. The BZA ultimately agreed with the interpretation that the ordinance can be read as meaning that there needs to be 650 square feet per single bedroom unit and 850 square feet per 2-bedroom unit. And some of that can be counted towards provided by usable floor area from some of the common rooms, and that there's nothing in the ordinance that would prevent that. So that decision allowed the Clover project to proceed with what ended up being a significant amount of, they do have significant recreation rooms and communal dining room, and those are the kinds of things that you saw with their submittal to the board for a special land use. But this also raised the question, our ordinance could use some additional clarification in this regard. So in making their decision, the BZA directed the Planning Commission to look at this and to clarify that this standard allows for some usable floor area to come from common rooms. So over the course of 2 very good discussions, the Planning Commission reviewed that standard. The Planning Commission recalled that there was a high standard applied to our ordinance. And additional research shows that in relation to some of the comparison communities on our borders, we do have a relatively high minimum floor area standard for our senior housing independent units. And the Planning Commission also acknowledged that those living in senior housing are more likely to use some of those common amenities, those communal areas and game rooms and dining rooms. So the Planning Commission supported this idea, and they worked over the course of 2 meetings to draft an ordinance amendment that allows for a limited amount of the minimum usable floor area in a development to count toward from common rooms to count toward the minimum requirement for the overall site. And so the Planning Commission accepted that and recommended changes to formalize that. What the zoning ordinance now says is that there are communal areas that can provide usable space for residents, and those would include things like recreation rooms, a library, a spa, a dining room, dining area, game areas, and similar areas of congregation. What is not allowed to count toward that minimum would be things that are outside, like balconies, decks, patios, also things that we typically rule out of a definition of what we call usable floor area, like utility rooms and storage rooms and corridors. There are usable floor areas, and there are gross floor area that includes those other spaces that aren't really used, just to give a more simple explanation of what usable floor area is. So the long and the short of it is that the Planning Commission has proposed a draft text amendment that allows up to 10% of that minimum required per unit usable floor area amount to come from those communal living areas. And it also really clarifies in detail what we mean by usable floor area, so that a project does not have an abundance of halls and storage rooms and things of that nature that developers are trying to say count toward the usable floor area requirement. And we think this is a reasonable standard based on the, as I mentioned earlier, the tendency for seniors to use these communal spaces more frequently than maybe those in other multifamily or single family residential projects, and the relatively high minimum that we already have in place. So that is the basis of this ordinance. And I will say also that in the process of looking at the floor area requirement, we also noticed a part of our zoning ordinance with regard to senior housing that needed to be adjusted to be modernized and made fair to those projects in terms of signage. So previously, all senior housing projects were relegated to residential standards for signage. In particular, important is what would be a monument sign out in front of a development. Previously, the current ordinance that we have in place, we noticed has a 30-foot setback for a monument sign, and a monument sign can only be 40 square feet. We recognize that there would be a benefit to having some additional visibility of signage for senior housing developments that are perhaps in commercial zoning, which a lot of these, the commercial zoning allows for these. So you're more likely to see them in commercial zoning than in a residential context. So what we've also proposed is to have commercial or the underlying zoning district standards to apply to senior housing signage. So that allows the sign to be up to 8 feet tall with a range of possible maximum areas for the sign face, and a 10-foot setback instead of a 30-foot setback. So that will give the senior housing projects better visibility on the highly trafficked roads. However, we still say that wall signage has to be limited to, as you would see in the residential zoning district, with a 40 square foot maximum. So in other words, you aren't going to see a senior housing project that has large wall signs that would be typical of something like a hotel. And so that was just another part of this ordinance that we thought to be efficient, to stay ahead of reasonable standard for signs. We include the sign change in this ordinance, as well as the in this ordinance amendment, as well as the minimum usable floor area change. So I know the usable floor area that provoked some questions with the Planning Commission and required some explanation. So I'm glad to answer any questions about that or the sign changes that have been proposed. And we can always answer questions tonight, or I can bring back some more information for the next meeting, but I'm glad to talk through that. But we do, as staff, recommend this change to clarify and refine the senior housing ordinance.
As always, very detailed. Does anybody have any questions? I will tell you that we are kind of new to the senior housing game. Our ordinances are only a year old, and we're still tweaking them. We've discovered a few little problems here and there, and that's what we're trying to fix. We are maintaining our standards to that of our neighbors, either at or above their standards. So I saw Reggie Miller. Did you raise your hand?
Yes, I did. So I'm looking at this, and does this mean if this is passed by the board, that not only senior housing, this unit, but all apartment complexes can use the 10%?
No, it does not. I'm sorry, through the chair. It would not imply that. The multifamily requirements for multifamily are handled in our schedule of regulations, which is more of a general standard. Senior housing has its own special set of requirements, and that's where the special land use review comes in, and specific standards apply to senior housing. So in some cases, those standards are more stringent, and in some cases, they're just a little bit different, like this one. But so a apartment complex that is not least restricted to seniors would not be allowed to credit their common areas in this.
So if I may ask you another question, how many communities, neighboring communities, use this formula of 10% for their senior living?
We did not find communities that use this exact formula, but what we found is a range of different standards in different communities. Some communities have a significantly lower standard for just their minimum usable floor area per unit requirement. And then there are other communities that actually have there really is no minimum. It's more of a negotiating process in their special land use standards, where they actually just tailor their review for each senior housing project, and there is no minimum or maximum standard.
So my concern is, how will this be marketed to, say, a potential or future resident? Are they going to be told that they're getting a 2-bedroom dwelling at 850 square feet? Or are they being told that they're getting a 2-bedroom dwelling at 935 square feet. Is it clear that 10% of it is being counted as common space?
That is a very good question, and the floor plan will be transparent to everybody as part of the review that the Planning Commission does. And we will be clear about what each unit has as a minimum for each unit. But what the ordinance now says is that the project as a whole, as an aggregate, has to have, say you have, let's use a simple example, 10 two-bedroom units. The building has to have 850 times 10, so 8,500 square feet of usable floor area. What this ordinance is simply saying is that 10% of that can come from common rooms or common areas.
I see. So a potential resident isn't going to be surprised to find out that they don't have the actual 10%. So it's nothing like that. It's not included. So the 850 square feet would be just that, 850 square feet. You're looking at as a whole, as a whole complex, to add up the square footage that includes the community center and the rec center and what have you there, but it's advertised 850 square feet, 2-bedroom, correct? That's what my understanding.
Yeah, that's well put.
Okay.
Yep, that's right.
All right, thank you. I'm clear on that. No questions for me.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak?
Through the chair, just to say, a lot of these questions the Planning Commission looked at, because that was their concern also, is what were these buildings going to be? One nice things, each one will have a garage, because we have let them have more parking spaces, so each one will have a garage. And most people will come and will see the rooms before they decide whether they want a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom. And Reggie, I think to answer your question, also because it's a senior center, most, even any independent senior housing usually has availability of a dining room and meals, and they
Right.
will have a common area. So that's really why the Planning Commission said we could look at this, and we kind of hammered it up pretty good, but I think we got a good product. Thanks.
But you
to Dan
understand,
and Matt.
I have fresh eyes, and I'm seeing this for the first time, reading over it over the weekend. So it's good to get it out there so people don't think that, hey, this place is selling 850 square feet, but it's, being marketed at 935. So it's good to talk about it.
Yep.
Anybody else?
Through the chair.
This is, as if I remember you correctly, you said that for each senior housing community that comes along. So if another applicant comes in and they have a larger facility, then they will obviously have larger square footage for each room.
Up to 10%.
Right.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, if they have a 2-bedroom at 1,200 square feet, then it would be that times whatever the formula is, correct?
So yeah, there would be, it's going to be just the number of units, and then the minimum is going to be that number, and then you'll parse out the 1-bedroom units and then the 2-bedroom units, and then you just have to multiply the 850 times the number of 2-bedroom units, 650 times the 1-bedroom, and then that total up to 10% of that can be, only up to 10% of that can be common rooms. And so, yes, the number would be larger for potentially for the common areas based on a larger project.
Okay.
And technically, Don, I think if they wanted larger rooms and that they thought they could sell them, we aren't going to tell them they got to go smaller. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I'm good.
Yep.
Good.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
One other really good question that might be on trustees' minds. One of our planning commissioners asked, well, if we have a relatively high standard, and we know as part of writing this ordinance that seniors will tend to use these common rooms and common areas, why not just reduce our minimum floor area standard? And what we said is we really do not want to do that, because we wouldn't want a situation where somebody would propose a lower product, or a product that has lower minimum for units, and then also not include those common spaces that enhance the project. So by building this in, we think we also incentivize, especially for those projects that might not meet the 850 in each unit or 650 in each single bedroom unit. It incentivizes them to use some creative common spaces. So that was one of the other really good questions that the Planning Commission brought up.
We have a great planning commission. They're all very well trained, and most of them, I think Don Boynton's a certified master planner and has been for years. So, and he didn't make the cut. We had to kick him off. So, all right. So, do I hear any other questions? Now we have to do roll call anyway. So, clerk, call the roll.
Who made that motion? Treasurer Bud?
Clerk Wright.
Yes.
Second.
Yeah. Yes for me, Clerk Wright. Trustee Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Martin?
Yes.
Trustee Boyden?
Yes.
Trustee Frazier is absent. Supervisor?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. All right, moving on. And Fraser's absent excuse. Okay, so number 2, discussion on to consider approval of Davenport Brothers construction for the French Landing Park Phase 1 improvement project in the amount of $277,000. Can I get a motion?
I make the motion to consider the approval of Davenport Brothers construction for French Landing Park Phase 1 improvement project in the amount of $277,163.
Okay,
So-
and trustee Miller support. Okay, Matt, Elizabeth, Renaud, Director Renaud, whatever.
Good evening, board. So in January of 2021, the Board of Trustees recommended that staff move forward with finalizing our plans for French Landing Park Phase 1, in addition to putting out the project to bid. So we did just that. And on Wednesday, April 14th, we received the bids for the project and we opened them publicly. We received one bid, and that was for Davenport Brothers Construction for $299,812. So Russell Design, the township's landscape architect and also the construction administrator on the project, worked with Davenport alongside staff on a post-bid review. After that time, Davenport decreased their base bid amount to $277,163. So this bid amount fits within the original project budget. Project budget revenues include both grant money and also money in parks capital outlay. So Public Services staff recommends that the Township Board approve the selection of Davenport Brothers Construction for French Landing Park Phase 1 improvements for the base bid price of $277,163. The project expense will be paid out of Parks and Lake Department capital outlay. And if approved, the project construction will start and Phase 1 will be completed around the end of summer. The main scope of Phase 1 includes demo and site work, the pathway system within the park, landscaping, the irrigation system, some electrical work, the shade structure that Director Best brought to you about a month ago, and the associated concrete pad and footings and various site furniture. I also wanted to mention that although we only received one bid for the project, it was posted on BidNet. So thousands of contractors have the opportunity to bid, but we only received actually one bid for the project. So with that, any questions?
Questions? Okay, so I just want to go over, first of all, this is something I've been hearing from other supervisors and mayors and school superintendents. The pool of contractors is shrinking, and shrinking because they've got work and they don't have labor. So I was very thankful, actually, and did not consider putting this back out to bid when we received a bid that was within our budget. Whether it came from Timbuktu but I'm glad it was a hometown contractor. But this is something we have to start watching very closely because numbers are going up fast. Also, the reason the number went down was because our engineer sat down with Davenport and did a thorough vetting and made sure they scope of work. You're gonna do this, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do this, what's involved in this line item number. And they discovered that there was soil that was in Davenport's bid that was not needed on this. I think that's what it was. And so that brought it down. So in other words, we really went into it and scrutinized this bid closer than normal because it was a single bid. Any questions? Hearing none. Clerk, would you call the roll?
I will. Clerk Leon Wright, yes. Who supported that?
I did.
Trustee Miller,
Yes.
trustee Borden,
Yes.
trustee Martin,
Yes.
trustee Frazier is absent and excused. Treasurer Bud,
Yes.
supervisor,
Yes,
motion passes.
thank you.
Thank you, board.
Okay, as promised 2 weeks ago, we're gonna have a discussion on approving Zambelli fireworks for our 4th of July fireworks. We're going to begin by asking for a motion for approval and support, knowing that we're gonna have a long discussion about this. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll
Through the
make a
chair.
motion.
I make a motion that we approve Zambelli Fireworks Company for the 2021 Van Buren Township Fireworks Show scheduled for June 26, 2021, and authorize the supervisor and clerk to execute the agreement.
Okay, normally I would be calling up Jennifer Wright or Zhang Line, or else I can handle this. Elizabeth, were you moved in on this or not? I'll take care of it. Okay.
So,
Director
through the
Zingline,
chair-
I believe, is presenting.
Great.
need-
Your name in the chat.
who seconded the motion?
I did.
I'm
okay.
sorry. Oh, yeah, I got that. So,
Okay.
Ms. Jennifer Zangline, our recreation director, hopefully, after reorg. Promote Ms. Zangline.
Hi, I feel like a big surprise. Surprise! Kevin, Supervisor McNamara, I would like to make a comment first. What a night for Parks and Rec. I am just overwhelmed and inspired by the generosity of our community partners. Thank you to the Civic Fund. Thank you to the Van Buren Township DDA for your support and your generosity. I'm overwhelmed. So thank you so much. So many good things are coming to us in 2021, 2022 and beyond. And I'm overjoyed.
It's a wonderful day. Thank you.
Yes. And French Landing, there's all kinds of good things happening. With that being said, what I bring to you tonight is a motion. We discussed that you guys discussed just briefly about the fireworks. So our recreation committee has selected a vendor, Zambelli, who we've been working with for over 10 years. But the discussion of whether or not we should have a fireworks display was not given to the recreation committee. Of course, that is something that the board needs to discuss. And I've been keeping a close eye on our local communities, and I just wanted to report to the board that a lot of our local communities have canceled their big events and their fireworks for the year.
Yeah.
So I just want you to keep that in mind. Canton Township has canceled their Liberty Fest and their fireworks. The city of Livonia has canceled their summer spree along with their fireworks. And then I know that Woodhaven has canceled their big event they call the Uncle Sam Jam. So I've looked up and I've talked to a lot of community members from our surrounding communities, and either the fireworks and their summer festivals are still on the calendar because they have not canceled it yet, or they've canceled. So a lot of communities are still coming to decisions on that. And that's just something that will be up to the board to decide.
In your package, you will notice that Zambelli Fireworks is $10,000 a year. I asked them to call Jambelli and go through the contract and determine the cancellation clause within the contract. If you cancel between 30 and 60 days prior, which would be April 25th to May 26th, you're gonna have to pay 20%, so $2,000. If you cancel May 27th to June 21st, you're gonna have to pay $3,000. If you cancel less than 5 days, you pay $5,000.
Oof.
Other than that, you're in the game. So I just wanted to let you know, if you did do this, you know, if you say yes, we're moving forward, you do have an out. It just, there's a penalty associated. Talk amongst yourself. Clerk Wright?
You know, I know we had some discussion regarding this earlier. Previously, I was a big fat no. But recently, hearing some of the guidelines and the schedule laid out by our governor, if we reach those numbers, it could be possible for an outdoor show. Now, if it was inside, I would still be saying no. But based on where we at now, which is, I think we're supposed to be somewhere around 55% in the next week, 7 to 10 days. And then 60% probably by the end of May, hopefully. They want to continue to go out and get their shots. Because this is an outside affair and we're that close to 70%, I don't know. I could be persuaded to have the fireworks, barring everyone engage and take care of themselves, which count out social distance at their own behalf. Outside is a little bit different than being inside, especially with the vaccinations being widespread like it is. So I don't know. I would be open to maybe have it. When is it scheduled for? June 26th. So
Yes.
that's almost another month away from there. So I don't know. We're talking possibly, if everyone continue to do their part, we could be close to herd immunity in Michigan, hopefully. Fingers crossed. And that being said, we still encourage everyone to go out, get your shot, get vaccinated. I'm in a fully vaccinated household now. I have 2 young men that went out and got their shots, and they just got the second one yesterday, and with no reactions at all. I'm not saying no one doesn't get reactions, but they didn't get any reactions. So I highly encourage everyone to go out and do it so we can get back to some type of more case of normalcy, especially in Michigan and in our township. So I would be open to hear what everyone else had to say regarding the fireworks. So, but I could be persuaded to have it.
Trustee Boynton, Miller, Bud?
Through the chair, I guess my biggest concern has been because all these other big communities have decided to cancel theirs. I think it's going to make a lot more traffic at ours. I think traffic in that area is very tight. I think it makes it very hard on the residents because people are blocking up the streets, and it isn't really that big of an area where people can really spread out at all. So I guess that's my biggest concern. I'm really torn both ways. I guess I would have felt more comfortable if everybody else that was going to do it said they were going to do it or maybe postpone it. But I think I kind of feel sometimes that we're sticking out there by ourselves. I don't know if that's good or bad. That's my biggest hang up with it.
Mr. Supervisor. Trustee Bud and I share the same point. With the communities around us canceling out, that's going to really bring a huge crowd into our areas because everyone enjoys the fireworks. So I kind of jump on her coattails as well, as far as with the traffic and the crowd and everything else. Also, looking at the amounts of that's in the contract as far as if we cancel, I'm a little concerned about the way in which the prices increase. I'm not saying that they should not receive anything, but I would feel a little bit more comfortable if it increased in increments of 5% as opposed to 10%. And the postponement due to rain, that's the set fee of 10,000 plus another 15% on top of that. That's a little steep, especially for an occasion that we have no control over. But be that as it may, I would rather see 10%. Then the next days it will be 15%, and then maybe jump to 20%. Then finally a 40% cap. I will feel much better with that. And then also the same as what Clerk Wright says. If it were indoor, I would say no. By it being outside, feel a little bit better. However, if we are the only ones in this general area that will be having the fireworks, we're going to draw a crowd that's probably going to be, I would even venture to say, for lack of better knowledge, 25% heavier than what we have now. And that will be significant. So those are pretty much my words. And I'm torn as well. Do I want to see the fireworks? Sure, absolutely. But I'm kind of concerned about the crowd and the cost, if you will. But definitely want to work and see what we can do to have this happen. Definitely.
Okay. Trustee Miller or Trustee Martin?
To the chair.
Trustee Martin?
My sentiments, I agree with Treasurer Bud and Trustee Boynton. I think as the township body, we need to err on the side of caution. Yes, there are many people who have been vaccinated, but there are many people that have not been vaccinated. And they feel that since they've had their vaccination, they no longer have to wear a mask or whatever. But we got to worry about the people that don't have the vaccination, and they're intermingling in these large crowds. I would love to see the fireworks too, and it's sad that we have to cancel that. But with other larger cities doing the same thing, I think that it would be prudent for us to also not have the fireworks this year.
Yep.
Okay, Trustee Miller?
So let me ask this. The Lakeside Festival, what dates are those? Are these the same weekend?
Yes, it is the same weekend. The Lake Fest is scheduled from June 25th through the 27th. They have yet to make a final determination whether that festival will happen or not. So we were supposed to meet, the committee was supposed to meet this week, and they've decided to put it off for 2 weeks as they're still gathering more information to see what other communities are doing.
And if I can ask, you say that there seems to be a consensus that there will be a lot of people coming in, a lot of crowds. Where are these crowds going? Is it over to the fairgrounds? Is it Beck Ball Field? Can we limit the number of people that we allow in that area?
What we do is we have the police that the police basically are the limiting factor. Once there's enough people in there, they stop the traffic, and they only let it go one way. So what they mostly do is they end up along the waterfront tower, along the road there, and they end up in all the streets, Ayers and help me, McBride, and they park along those streets. They use up all the Beck Ball Field parking, which is going to have to be a discussion we're going to have because now our little league is blowing that parking rate out right now. They literally park all the way up to the water tower now to go walk down to play baseball.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, they're gonna, if you get a big crowd, they're gonna swamp the place. But
And-
they
Yeah.
swamp it now. Now I will, okay, but I do walk. I walk that park. I walk that thing, and I am a good Irish politician, and I shake every darn hand in that place if I can. And those people are generally pretty well, not isolated, but they're good 5-6 feet. Each family is good 5 or 6 feet away from each other. Once you get in there, there's lots of room to spread out, unless you get the one and only fireworks show in town, in which case, yeah, you could end up with that kind of a jam.
So let me ask this. What is the mask rule right now for being outside at events? What do we have currently? Who knows what it will be a month from now, but what are the rules right now?
I don't know. Somebody's texting me, which is probably what the answer is.
Okay.
I think
Well,
outdoor
I could-
outdoor arena is like 25% of the capacity, but they're outside, period.
This capacity is huge. I mean, they don't even,
Yeah.
the
It
ball
is-
fields and everything.
Supervisor, like I said, I'd like to hear what everyone else had to say. I didn't think about and didn't know about the rest of the scenario. I agree with Sherry Bud and Boyden and Trustee Martin. I didn't think about what we're gonna draw from other communities. If we draw any from other communities, that's gonna cause a great concern. We have an overabundance of people that just from our tri-community. But if we draw from other communities that's canceling theirs also because everybody wanna get out and see
Mhm.
fireworks show, we're gonna have a huge problem. So with that being said, I can pretty much, for the kibosh, I agree with what they just said. That's why I wanted to hear the rest, what everyone else had to say. I think we should.
And if
act
we
on-
have that
We should-
festival,
I think we should act on caution and do follow what everyone else is doing.
Through the
No.
chair.
What's
I mean, there's,
It was Wright and Miller. Miller, you were done. So Wright and then Bud and then back to Miller. Are you done? Are you done?
it wasn't, but okay.
Okay, hold on. Let Trustee Miller finish, because she actually wasn't finished when you stepped in.
That's all right.
Go ahead.
Are you sure?
Yeah, yes,
Yeah, go ahead. I thought you was done. I'm sorry.
I wasn't.
But,
All right, so you're done, Treasurer Bud, and then back to Miller.
well, there's been a lot about going around whether that festival in town was gonna actually happen. And I think that the latest rumor around is that they are gonna cancel it, but I can't swear to that. So
They
I think
are.
they're, yeah,
Okay.
that's kind of what I've heard. Jen, have you heard that at all?
What I had heard was that they've started to pare it down. They were going to have a really big concert down by the water at Heritage Park or Horizon Park. And I got all these parks in my head at Horizon Park. And because they couldn't control the crowd, they were expecting a lot of people to come out to this certain band, that they decided to do away with that one aspect. They've been working with the health department, and the health department is recommending not more than 1,000 people per venue. And they can break up the festival into separate venues and say that this band stand down here is one venue and this one tent over here is another venue, and they can try to break it up. But the recommendation is not to have more than 1,000 people in an area, which at Beck Ball Fields, we may go over that.
Yeah, and right
Yeah.
now, I mean, I know I made the motion to approve it, but just to get it on the table,
Yeah.
I just think we would be better off letting it go this year. I just have a real problem with that. I think they're gonna have a hard enough time trying to figure out what they're gonna do with the festival in town, and I really think we should not do it.
I do have one more comment, and that is some of the communities like Canton are considering doing something in the fall. So it may be that if we decide not to do fireworks right now, it may be that if the board would like, we could take that money and do something else in the fall. Maybe things will be better. Maybe we can do something different. it's something we can discuss.
Memorial Day fireworks.
That's,
Yeah,
yeah, you know, through the chair, I'm sitting here and I've got the same thoughts going, excuse me, going through my own mind. I think that having the fireworks would really be overtaxing to the police department and to everyone else in the month of June. Yeah, that might be the better way to go. Just hang on to the funds that we have. We do a big Labor Day celebration or a summertime celebration for the end of August or something like that. I'm really thinking that the June date is probably too early because with everyone else canceling and hearing the possibility of the lake festival being canceled or pushed back, it's going to be too taxing on our public safety department and also our fire department to try and keep the number of crowds down to what the state minimum is. I think this is going to be too much of a challenge.
Okay, we're at trustee Miller. Did you already go again? No?
I've gone. I think we need to postpone it. Maybe look at Labor Day and
Yeah,
we'll have it for sure next year. The way things are looking, it'll be more normal next summer.
yeah.
This is so sad. As you guys probably guessed, since I put it on the agenda that I wanted it. So, but I did understand, and that's why I gave you guys a 2-week notice that this was coming, so you could make a well thought out decision. And I will yield to the brain trust of the many over me. But I really am dying to get back to normal around here, and I would have done this, but but you're probably right. And Memorial Day actually sounds like it might not be a bad idea. But Joe Biden says it's going to be back to normal by 4th of July, and I'm darn sure we're leaving it until it's
And
not.
it's not now.
Yep.
And it can always come back and we can approve it then.
Midsummer.
Yep.
We have a motion on the table right now, a motion for approval. We have a second. Hearing no further discussion, I think your answers are going to be no. Clerk, Wright, would you call the roll?
I will. I think the motion was started by Treasurer Bud,
No.
supported by who?
Miller,
Miller? Trustee Miller?
no.
Trustee Martin?
I vote no.
Trustee Boyden?
No.
Trustee Frazier is absent and excused. It's a no for me, Supervisor.
No.
Motion passes unanimous.
We all want it. We just can't have it right now.
I know.
Yeah, she sounds like a little boy.
Motions decline.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Jen.
All right, reports, we have none. Public comment for non-agenda items. Moderator, could you let us know if you have anybody that wishes to make public comment?
Do not see any virtual hands raised, and there is nothing in the chat.
Great. Board comments. Does anybody want to make comment?
Through the chair, I would just want to know, do we need a motion to say that we're not going to do the fireworks and that we'll look at it later? Or do we not? That doesn't make any difference.
I don't think it makes any difference.
Okay, fine.
Anybody wants to go to the fireworks, they're welcome to, but we don't have. All right. Board comments for non-agenda items. We've already got that covered.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
Through the chair. A couple of weeks ago, I had a chance to visit the tennis and pickleball courts over there on Denton Road, and they did a fantastic job. They look absolutely beautiful.
Yep.
And I can't wait for the shade sail to go up. But the courts are beautiful. I may have to start playing pickleball.
Oh, I plan to join the pickleball team or group that they have that I read in the notes from Dan Selman. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
Good.
Yeah, but the courts are beautiful.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Yep, they are. I will say that when the Civic Fund voted, a couple of the members said, well, I made a point of driving out there. They're beautiful. So I think we've really impressed the community with what that area looks like now. So it was a good job by all.
Clerk Wright?
Yeah, I did kudos to what everyone is saying. I drove by there, and especially they're also talking about it on Facebook also. It is beautiful.
Yeah.
Maybe we should put a township board team together.
Hey,
I just
I'm
want
there.
lastly, I'd just like to encourage everyone to go out and get vaccinated if you haven't, so we can get to herd immunity and get back to normal.
Yeah.
Let's
Here,
get 70%.
Okay.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, hearing nobody in the negative, we are adjourned.
Good night, everybody.